Hey guys, okay, we're back with part 2 of the video today. I'm just starting to do the decorating of the bag. I have gone ahead and done a few things. I've created a pocket to go on there. Now I've lost some of the footage from my last video, but everything that I'm using to make the bag is actually things that I already had. The black fabric came from a charity store. The ribbon was actually off a throw that I bought. And the satin here that I'm using, the pink satin, is just an offcut I've got from another project. So yeah, I'm just trying to make it out of things that I already had. So I thought it'd be cute to make a little pink pocket, and because satin's a very fine fabric, I lined it with muslin as well, just to give it extra strength. And I've made it a pretty similar way to the bag, really, just with the side pieces as well, just to make it, because I don't want a flat pocket, I wanted a big puffy pocket. And you can see, like, I need to attach this to the bag, but it's going to sit out nicely when it's finished. And I thought it'd be cute to put a black cat on it. And I've also used, again, satin that I already had from another project. So I'm going to do that, and I've made markings on the back of the cat, on the face, just so that I can do some embroidery stitch to do some details. And I did actually back this fabric with interfacing, just to give it extra strength as well. And also you need that if you're going to do any sort of stitching on it too for your details. So yeah, I'm going to get that done. And I also thought on the other side I had this lovely cross, which is quite pretty. So I think that'll look nice on the other side. I'll just move the pocket to give you an idea. So I think that looks really cute there, like that. And I have leftover velvet from another project, so I'm actually thinking that I might cut it out into a diamond shape. Probably hard to see on camera because of the colour. I might cut it into a diamond shape and put the cross on it, like that. And I'll probably do a black pocket, I think, on the other side, because I think that the cross looks prettier on black. So I might do that. I'll just show you how it looks on the pink. I mean, it's still nice, but you don't get the same effect. So yeah, I think we're going to go with a black background for that one. And I also have a lot of studs here from other projects. So I'm going to use some of those as well to give it a more goth kind of a look. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the studs yet, because I haven't planned that out completely, but I'll probably have maybe rivets along here and some studs and things. But yeah, I'm just going to plan it out and see what looks the nicest. But I think I'll start with the pockets and get those done first. And do my embroidery for the cat. And I will show you some of the embroidery on camera as well, to show you how I'm doing that. And then I'm going to add some studs and things. So yeah, that's the next step with the bag. Hi guys. Okay, it's the next day. I just wanted to go through, I showed you yesterday, turn the camera down. I showed you the cat yesterday that I'm going to put on the bag. I didn't talk about how I made it. So I actually just searched on Google for cat patterns, and a few came up, and I just found this one on Pinterest, and I just resized it to 60% and I printed it out, and then I cut it out to use as my pattern. And then I also wanted some details for the face, so I actually found another little pattern. It was also on Pinterest. It was actually for a face mask, and I just printed that out, and then I've traced it onto some transfer paper, and I just cut the eyes out because they weren't sitting quite right with the cat that I've got printed out. So I've cut those out to do them separately. And I also have the details for the whiskers and things like that on here. So with the eyes, I just pin them, or put them where I thought they looked the best. I moved them around a little bit, and then I just traced around them with some chalk, and then I just drew the other details in freehand with a bit of chalk. So what I want to do with this is embroider it. I was going to attach the pocket to the bag first, when I realised that I really need to put the cat on first, otherwise I'll have to hand stitch it on. So I'm going to try to embroider it. I don't have any embroidery thread. So what I did instead is I just got regular cotton and I've just threaded it through my needle. I did it 3 times. So there's 3 separate threads in there doubled over. And then I knotted that. So hopefully this will be thick enough. And the other thing I did as well, so that it won't get all tangled up, I used this stuff called Thread Magic. And all you do is you open the top on it, if I can get it off, and you just put your cotton in there, there's little notches, and you just run it, you put that back over top then, and then you just run the cotton through, and that actually puts a wax coating on it which stops it from tangling. And I haven't done embroidery before, so this will be interesting. So we'll see how we go, but I thought I'll start with the eyes. But I don't want to do them all white. I actually have a cute little Killstar cushion. We can get it in the shop. And I like the way these eyes are done. It's also less embroidery stitching, but I think it looks cute. So I'm actually going to try to do them that way. So this is my inspiration for the design. So I'll keep that here as a guide. And then I'll just get started. So this is the back. And obviously we want the front to be the neater side. So I'm going to start my stitching at the back. I think what I'm going to do initially, I'm just going to go all around the outside of the eye, just with a straight stitch. And then I'll start embroidering from there. Let's see how that works out. So now that I've done that stitch, I want to do a back stitch. And do the same again, just do the back stitch again. I'll do the back stitch. I'm actually trying to get as close to the last stitch as possible. I mean, you're not going to see it anyway, but it's probably just going to help us have some neater embroidery stitches. And I can see already this is going to use a lot of thread. So I'm going to have to thread this again a few more times, I think, before I'm finished. So it's not quite neat just there, but we'll fix that up when we do the embroidery stitch. This is just more of a guide, really. I'm starting to have some issues with the threads pulling all the way through. There we go. So I'm just going to, because I'm at the corner of the eye now, I'm just going to push it all the way through to the other side, because I don't want to mess up the other side. I'm just going to finish the rest of the eye and then I'll come back and show you how it looks. Okay, so I've finished the top of the eye and that's how it's looking, which I'm pretty happy with because, like I said before, I haven't done embroidery before. So that's coming along quite nicely. So now, I mean, we might notice it's a bit thinner on this part of the eye and I probably like that a little bit better, but that's fine. I'll just make sure that this is thicker and that's thinner on the other eye so that they balance and it should be fine. So now I'm going to do the other side, and the other side the stitching seems to be a little bit thicker, so I'll try to get that thicker if I can and see how that looks. So let's get started. Again, I want this to be wider than the other one or thicker than the other one, so we'll bring it out a little bit wider. marking wider, so I'm going to stitch out further. Okay, so I'm just going to go along and finish the bottom, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks. Okay, so I've finished the bottom part of the eye as well now. And as you can see, it's not perfect. There's a few little gaps and things, and some bits are a bit wider, but I'm still pretty happy with it. I think it looks cute. It'll also look better when I've done the other eye as well, of course. Try and balance it out a little bit. I have sort of discovered as well that where I was keeping the stitching together a bit tighter up here where I first started, I actually like it better when it's not so tightly packed together. But again, I haven't embroidered before, so, you know, these are things you learn as you go, I guess. Okay, so the next step for this will be trying to do some details on the inner part of the eye. And that's going to be a little bit trickier, but I'll try my best with that. We'll see how we go. Okay, so I've done both the eyes now, the nose and the little mouth on the cat, and I've put little bangs on there as well. You can see them. It's not completely symmetrical, but it's pretty close. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now is just do the little round section here in the eyes, just to complete the eyes. So what I did is I just measured the width of the eye and put a little mark, and then I also in the middle, I put a mark in the middle, and then I measured the thickest part of the eye, top and bottom, and then marked the middle section of that. So I've got a little dot in there if you can see it, and I did the same thing with the other side, and I just used my little white marking pencil because that's just much more accurate than the chalk. The chalk was just too big. And yeah, so that's what we've done here now. And I think what I'll do with this one is I'm going to do a cross stitch, and then I'm just going to stitch around that to get the circle. So anyway, I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so this time I'm just using a single thread because it's only a really small dot that I'm doing, and I thought a double thread might be just a bit too much. Let me come up a tiny bit. Okay, so the dots are quite close to this stitching right here, and I don't want it to actually touch. Close is fine, but I don't want it actually touching, so I just need to make sure when I put the stitch in there that it doesn't touch. So I'll start the first stitch right on the bottom of the dot there. And I'll just stitch over top of it. So that's the first part. Okay, so now we're going to make this a cross stitch. I'll try to get it the same size if possible, and also in the middle of that previous stitch. Oops. So we'll start there. And then we're just going to cross it over the centre line there, just to get a little cross stitch. Okay, it's not completely level, but it gives us a bit of an idea. So that's that there. Yeah, I just went up a little bit too high on that side. It should have been down a bit lower. It might be easier if I just correct that. So I might just pull that back through. Because yeah, being that I'm using this as a guide, I think having it as accurate as possible is a good idea. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, well that's better than last time. So that's how it looks now. which kind of looks cute already actually. I could nearly leave that, but I think I want to do a circle. So alright, so what I'm going to do is just stitch next to that last one here. So this one is on this side, so the next one I want to do on the opposite side. Oh, that thread underneath has been a bit of a pain. Okay, so now come back here on this side. And again, it's going to be on the opposite side. So I'm just kind of using that cross as a guide just to do a circle. So I'm just going to basically sew around it. And hopefully that'll keep it in a circular shape. That's the plan anyway. It's actually moved up a bit higher than I expected. It would have been nice to be a bit closer to this stitching down here, but never mind. It looks a bit wider than I'd like, that last stitch, so what I might do is another one next to it and just make it a little bit smaller. Just a little bit, we don't want it to be too harsh. More of a blending effect, I guess you'd say. So yeah, just make sure it's just a little bit smaller than the last one. Yeah, I think that definitely looks better. Okay, so that's one side done. I wonder what it would look like if I made it a bit narrower and wider. I do usually like to wing these things. I'm not really a big planner, generally speaking. I like to just do things and see how they turn out. I think that's cute. I think we'll leave it at that. So I'll tie that off now. And then we'll do the other side as well. I do apologise for my nails today. A couple have broken off. I meant to fix those before I did the video, but anyway. Hopefully I'll have them fixed up for the next one. We're in lockdown, so I have to do them myself at the moment, which is fine. I started doing them myself with the last lockdown actually. I don't mind doing it, it just takes me a long time to get it done because I do use acrylics, so it takes a lot of practice to actually get okay at doing acrylics. So if you see videos that tell you it's easy, they're lying. It really isn't. It really is quite tricky, but it's well worth it once you get the hang of it. Okay, so I'm just knotting the thread now so we can start the next eye. Because it is only a single thread, it needs to be a good size knot. Just because the needle is quite large, so otherwise it's just going to pull straight back through. Okay, so we'll do the same thing again on this eye. So I will start at the bottom point there, right there, and do a straight stitch upwards, like that. And then we'll come to the side, in the middle as much as possible. I know that that's hard to get right in the center, but as long as it's close. So they're like that. And then again, try to find the center point. and then stitch over that. I also want to make sure I'm not making this one too big. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm a little bit low, but we've still got a cross there, you can see. So as long as you can see a cross, that's helpful. It actually looks quite cute too. That's how it looks just with the cross on the eye instead of the little circle, which is cute as well. You could just leave it like that. I think that looks nice. Mind you, if you decide to do it that way, you could probably just then do a double thread in the needle and just do your little cross, and that would finish it off. But anyway, I'm going to do a circle because I did on the last one. So again, I'm going to come in the middle of those stitches there and then go across to the opposite side like that. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, now go on this side and again stitch back to the opposite side. Like that. Move around here. Just make sure that you have a look and that you're filling in any gaps. I can see a gap between my straight or my cross stitch that I had as a guide and the stitching I'm doing now, so I'll just make sure I fill that. So through there, and again the opposite side. So we'll pop this through here. If you keep going in that same pattern, stitching in the same pattern, it should come out quite circular or round, which is what we want. So again, now we're back to this side, so we'll here and then the opposite side over here. And round. Of course, it doesn't have to be an exact circle, but you do want it as close as possible. That is if you choose to do this rather than just leaving the little cross, which again looks quite cute as well. So if you wanted to do that, then absolutely do that. Why not? Okay, a little gap here, so same thing, and then stitch across to the opposite side. Okay, we're getting there, we're almost there. So just another little gap right in here. So I want to fill that as well. If I can find the spot. This is the fun part. There it is. Okay. So through there, and again the opposite side. Like that. Oops. That happens a little bit too, I'm sure you'll notice. Okay, I do still have a little bit of a blank spot, so we'll just fill that too. And again to the opposite side, there's a little spot there, so we'll put it in there. Okay, so that looks done to me. I think that's pretty good. So that's how we're looking now. One eyeball, or one iris I guess you'd say, is a little higher than the other, but it's cute. It happens, I guess. You could adjust it if you really wanted to, but I like how it looks, so I think I'm just gonna leave it as it is. The other way you could adjust it, so the one that I've done now is the one that's lower, so I guess you could come through and just do a couple of more stitches like down the bottom like this and make that like a little bit higher. But the other thing too, that's quite a small dot as well, so there's still going to be a little bit of, like if I do this, it's going to look a little bit different because this eyeball's going to, or the iris, beg your pardon, is going to be a bit bigger. So I may not like that look anyway. I may prefer it the other way, but I'll have a look. I can always just undo this if I'm not happy with it. It's very easy to pull back through. It's not something that I'm scared of doing, so okay. I've got a thread from the bottom pulled through, so let's clean that back up. If that ever happens and you can't pull them back through, that's not really a drama either. You can just trim it at the front. It's just easier if you can pull them back through the back and you don't have to worry about it, and you don't risk cutting the stitching that you don't want cut. Okay, so let's have a look at that now. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it like that. I've got another little blank space here that I'll fill. So get that thread through there, if I can find it. There we go. So yeah, I'm happy to leave that like that. So that's how it looks now. Alright. Okay, so we'll just tie that off now and trim the thread. Now that I'm happy with that. Okay. Now that we've got that done, I would like to give my little goth kitty some earrings. Because what's going to make a kitty look more goth than some earrings? So what I'm going to do... Okay, so I did practice this earlier and I devised a little plan, and I will show you how I do it. First of all, I need to work out which side to pierce. I'll just do one. My left ear is just a little bit thicker than the other one, just a little. So I might pierce the left ear since there's a little bit more space in that one. So the way I found was a good way for me to do it. I don't have a lighter. If you've got a lighter, you can use a lighter. I used a little, well, I won't say little, a big long skewer stick, which is metal, and I heated it up on the gas element, and I actually used that and pushed that through the fabric. And then when I was finished with that, I've gotten a little electric style lighter, and I just brush it over the back a little bit without touching it, just to try and harden up the edges so they don't fray, because you don't want to pierce the cat and then it all frays where you've done the piercings, because it's just going to ruin it. Okay, so I will take you across now and show you how to do the little piercings, and then I'll also show you, for the little piercings I'm just going to use little 6mm jump rings that I've got, and I think that I'll probably do 3, because I think 3 is a good number. So yeah, okay, so we'll go and do the piercings now. I'll show you how you do that. Okay, so for the next part, I'm just going to put my gas cooktop on here. Alright, and turn it down, we don't need it that high. Okay, so I have this here, which is a skewer for skewing cakes. I'm going to get some paper towel and I'll put that underneath my little cat on my bench top so I don't burn it. And I'm just going to heat this up gently, because it's nice and pointy at the end. You can see that. So I'll heat it up here. Now I did mark on my cat, if you can see on the ear there, I did mark a few spots where I want the piercings to be, and also because I'm using jump rings, you also want to make sure it's not wider than the jump ring or it's just going to pucker up the fabric. So just keep an eye on that. So I'm going to do this one first. So I just get the skewer, put it on the dot, and then I push it through. You can see that. Just gently push that through there like that. And there's one hole. You can see that. Okay, so heat it up a bit more again. Push it on that second dot. Oops. Do be really careful doing this, because it could get very dangerous if you're not careful. Put on the dot again and just push that in. And it will go through quite easily because it's hot. I may not even need to use the other little electric lighter to seal the ends because they feel pretty melted, if you will, because the skewer's hot enough. So the third hole, put it on there and just twist that around a little bit. So there we go, that one's a little bit large. Anyway, never mind. Okay, so there we go. 3 little piercings on the cat's ears. So yeah, like I said, it feels, when I feel the back, it feels a little bit melted. So I shouldn't need to do anything else with that. That shouldn't fray. Alright, so we can go back now and add the earrings. Be careful with your skewer, it's hot. So like, don't put your fingers on the end of the skewer. You just hurt yourself. Alright, so I'm going to take you back to my table and we'll put in the earrings. Okay, well I hope I got all the piecing on camera okay. I hope you could see that well enough. Alright, so now I'm just going to get my jump rings, and so I need 3 of those. Alright. Oh, actually now I do also need some pliers for this, and 2 pairs would be ideal. So I'll just quickly run and grab 2 pairs of pliers. Okay. So if you've got long nose ones, they're the best for these. So, alright, so if you grab you can see the little join there. Hopefully you can see it. There's a little join there in the jump ring. I don't know if that's focusing okay. Hopefully that focused. Okay, so what you want to do now with these rings, the idea is you don't want to pull them apart that way. You actually want to twist them. So like you'll normally see they're not quite lined up. So what you want to do is twist it that way. So see that motion there? Okay, and now we've got a gap in the jump ring, if you can see that. So you obviously just want to thread that gap through the piercing. Now I may not have done it wide, no I haven't. Okay, so I'll just make that a little bit bigger so that it will slide over the fabric. There we go. Give that a go now. Okay, so there's 1 in. Now that I've got that in, I will just twist that back again to join it back up. And also make sure your fabric's not stuck in there. Mine got stuck in there while I was adjusting it, which is helpful. It's really not cooperating. So I'll just use my needle. I'll get the needle with my nails. Okay. Use a needle to push that fabric back down out of the way. No, it really is stuck in that joint, so I'll just loosen that off again. There we go. Loosen the fabric off and get that out of the way. Okay, and so we've joined that together again. So there's 1 piercing for your kitty. It looks quite cute. Okay, so 2 more to go. So again, just grasp the O-ring near the opening, twist that way with the pliers, so that direction, and make a big enough opening in your jump ring to go through the fabric. Now I'm going to thread that side of the fabric through first, makes more sense, and then push it through the hole. That was a much easier process. Now that that's in, we'll just, again, bring the jump ring back together. Okay. So we've now got our second piercing. Looking pretty cute. Okay, one to go. And I might just turn it so the join's at the back. We've got a nice clean ring at the front. And there we go. I've just realised that was a bit silly because I had it turned the wrong way, so let's try that again. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that looks quite cute. So that's now ready to be attached to my little pocket. It's quite funny because I've realised that I've made life hard for myself again with this pocket, but it's okay. These things happen when you make new projects. That's what happens when you wing it and you don't really plan things. And down. There we go. Okay, so the next step's going to be to stitch the cat on the bag. Now I'm probably, even though I've finished this off, I did melt it, but I'm noticing a couple of little bits that are fraying. It's not the satin, it's actually the interfacing that I've got underneath. So I may even do a little fancy stitch around the edge on my sewing machine just to try and stop it from doing that, because I don't want it to keep doing that. So it really stands out on the pink fabric, as you can see here and here. So I'll trim those bits off now to neaten it up. And then I'll stitch them, and if there's any bits that are fraying again, I'll just trim them off after I do the nice stitching around the edge. And for this section of the cat, I mean obviously I'm not going to be able to stitch that to the pocket, so I'll just have to hand stitch that, that's fine. Okay. I wasn't sure about whiskers, but I don't think we really need whiskers. There's a lot of detail going on already, so I think I may skip the whiskers. Just put them on there to see. So I've got this pretty pink metallic thread, which would be very cool for whiskers, but yeah, I think it looks better without it. So I'm going to leave that off. So, yep, that's all finished and ready to go. So I will sew that on with the fancy stitching. I'll pin it on first to get it in the middle and things like that. And I'll sew it on with the fancy stitching, and then I will come back and show you how that looks. Okay, so I stitch the cat with the sewing machine onto the pocket. I pinned it all like that just to make it easier to sew. Now I couldn't stitch around near the little piercings, which is fine, I'll do that by hand. I just did it as close as I could. See on the back. And I actually even had to do this section here on its own after I'd completed the rest of it. That's fine. So I'll show you how it looks with the pins out. There we go. Now I also had an idea while I was doing that. I saw some string on my table and thought it'd be a really nice idea to actually put eyelets with lace on the pocket. So I actually did a seam here and stitched it down. I'm actually not even sure why I did that. I shouldn't have done that because I could have joined the pocket of the bag with it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So I unpicked that, and now I'm actually just going to make another section on the back of the pocket, so it'll just be the pocket on its own, and then I'll attach it to the bag with eyelets and some string. So I thought that would look pretty cute. So yeah, after I hand stitch the rest of the cut down on here, I don't actually even need to worry about it. I may not even need to worry about it actually. I may even just leave that. So my next step now is to work out how I'm going to do the eyelets. I think I'm just going to put them straight through the fabric here. But yeah, I'll stitch the back part of the pocket on first, and I'm probably going to use more of this black fabric because the alternative is to use more of this satin, but then I'm going to have to back it again with the muslin, and that's a bit of mucking around, I think. So I think I'll just use the black fabric and attach it straight to it. So I've got enough on that section there to do that, which is good because that'll still leave me a relatively large piece in case I want to make another bag or something. But yeah, all I need to do is just measure the size that I made this pocket, this section around here, and then transfer those measurements onto here, and then I will cut that out and stitch it on the back. But I'll make that little pattern piece up and then I'll come back and show you how it looks and what we do from there. Guys, I'm going to fix my nails up because they're driving me mad. So I've push the cuticles back and put rubbing alcohol on them, and now all I'm going to do is glue them on because I don't have time to do a new set or an infill. I'll do that later when I've got time. Okay. Alright, so let's get back to the bag. So I'm trying to do the eyelets at the moment. And where I'm at with that is just working out how to attach those to the bag. So through that with me. Here we go. Alright. So I just cut out, you want some in black, well you could have pink too if you want pink on both sides, but I wanted black on the bag side. There's one here which should be very hard for you to see, and pink to go on the side of the little pocket. So basically I just measured out the length that I wanted and added some seam allowance to each side, which is 1.5 centimeters, so on all 4 sides. So my pieces ended up being 23 centimeters by 6 centimeters. I put interface in on the back and I used iron-on, it's a lot easier. And then I just folded it in the middle and pressed that to get it nice and smooth. And so there's 4 pieces, there's 2 of those in black, and then I have 2 of them in pink. And I've done the same thing with the pink. And we have the iron-on interfacing on the inside as well. So what you want to do with those is you want to, I'll just take this other one off the bag so I can show you. Okay, so just overlock around all 4 sides, and then you want to fold this end, fold that over, and just go and stitch that down on your sewing machine, and do the same with the opposite side. And I actually originally tried to do a tube so you couldn't see any of the seams and pull it in the right way, but it just wouldn't work for me. I have a tool to do it, I can't find it. If you have a tool and you're able to do that, then go for it, but that just wasn't working for me. So instead of spending ages trying to do it and getting frustrated, I just decided to do it this way, which is, so after you've sewn the ends here, you end up with, open it out, so you just end up with this piece like this, the press line in the middle. All I did then was I took the piece, I lined it up where I wanted it on the bag next to the handle, and then I just sewed a stitch just down here. And yeah, look, at the moment you can see the overlocking. It's very hard to see because it's black. You can see that edging stitch, but I'm not worried about that, because what I'm going to do is, in sewing it that way, I've made sure that this is all the same width the whole way, and that's where my eyelets are going to go. And once I punch the eyelets in there, I'm just going to fold it back over like that. And what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of hand stitching through here, and that'll hide all of these pieces. Actually, I probably won't do it all the way, because then you won't have access to the eyelets if they ever come undone. So I'll probably just put like a little stitch down the bottom there to hold that in place, and that'll neaten the end up. And just down the other end as well. The rest of it's not too bad, it's pretty good. And I don't mind it showing that much. It's a lot easier than going crazy trying to make a tube and pulling it through if it's not working for you. So that's what I've done with that. I'll have to do the same thing with this piece here, and once that's done, I've sewn the back on the pocket. So I just sewed that on the bottom, and the reason I haven't done the sides, I haven't attached the sides, is because I'm going to, with the pink pieces, after that's hemmed up, I'm going to stitch those into here, and that'll all join together. They'll all be in one seam line. So, and that'll sit out at the side, and the eyelets will go in here, and then I'll be able to lace them through the eyelets on this side. So that's what's happening with that at the moment. So I'll just finish up these pieces. I just wanted to show you how to do it before I got it all done. So yeah, I'll go now and I'll stitch this down and serge the edges on the other two, and then I will come back. Okay, so I finished sewing these bits, and the way I did those, I just folded inside out to show you. I've just done a seam line down there on the wrong side, and I've done that on both ends. So that's allowed me just to fold it out like that. So it's nice and neat in the corner. Messed up my corner doing that, but you just get like a little tube like that. Now with the black one, I actually only stitched one bit like that. The other bit's just flat on the outside, but I could undo it and fix it up. It's too hard to unpick that fabric, it's just insane. So I'll leave it. It's on the underside anyway. So it's probably better off just to not worry about that. But the pink side will look a lot nicer, and that's going to be the most obvious part because it's going to be on top. So now this part here needs to be stitched onto here, and the serge stitches there. So you actually want to fold it over that way and stitch it on. And you also want to just make sure, I wanted my fabric to be 1.5 centimeters wide, because that is a good size for my eyelets, which I think my eyelets are 6 millimeters, something like that. So when you stitch it down, it'll fold back like that, which will look nice and neat. Apologies, stitch it that way. Yeah, when you fold it back, it'll look nice and neat, and you can just put your eyelets along here. And then again, I'll just put one stitch on each end. Okay, so that's how we'll do that part. And then for the pink pieces, so they just need to be put in here like this. So they will be a little bit tricky to pin. So basically we want that on the inside there like that. And make sure that part is facing that way so that it'll still be facing outwards when you stitch it down. And I'm going to try to push it right up in here if I can, right to where that little corner seam is there. And then we'll just pin that there like that. It's also on a corner, so it's a little bit tricky. So we'll do that all the way around. And obviously we need to do that with both sides. And just try to line up all the edges as well as you can, because then that way when you do actually fold this pocket back out, hopefully all of this area here, which will have the eyelets in it, will be the same width. And so that should look nicer. It'll look a lot neater than if it's the same width. I'm going to line it all up. Now I think the best thing to do now is to check that, just to make sure that you haven't pinned it with any puckers if you can. If you're not confident sewing that, you can always do a basting stitch and see how it sits and then stitch it. But I'm going to go ahead and stitch mine, and I am going to actually stitch this before I do the other side, because when I pin the other side I'm going to want to turn that out and have a look at it. And it's going to be a lot harder to do that if I've got two sides pinned, because I'm probably just going to lose pins and then in one side, which would be a bit frustrating. So, but yeah, that's how it should look there. So that should be hanging out like that. And the eyelets are going to go along here. And then we'll have eyelets along this as well. And then we can put our ribbon or whatever in there and join those together. So that'll hold the pocket on. I'll probably also put Velcro or something on it as well, just so the pocket doesn't hang out or anything like that, especially if I get a few things in it. This is more to make it look pretty, if you will. So, alright, so I'll stitch that side and stitch this as well. And then I'll come back and pin this, and then once I've got all of that done, I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so I've finished the sewing. I've pinned the back of this pocket. I still need to stitch it down. That's fine, I'll do that in a minute. I just thought I'd get started on the eyelets. Now, I measured it out and I'll show you the lines on the other side. These ones are a little bit close, but you shouldn't notice them with the ribbon and that on there. If I was making a dress or something like that, then I'd probably redo this whole bit. But it's just for a bag, so it should be fine. What I did, because I do find eyelets hard to line up. It's going to be very hard for you to see that actually. I'll try to get that in the light. There's some slight marks. Okay, so I measured out 0.75 centimeters from this outside edge, because that's where you want it to be level from, is the outside edge. And I ruled that, and that's my middle mark. If you can see that, it's very difficult. And then my eyelets are 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter wide. I measured the diameter of them. So what I did then, from this center point, I measured out 0.5 centimeter, just as a guide to where the edge of it should be. It just helps to find the middle. And then I divided the side. I actually put the eyelets on there first to see what looked better, 5 or 6. I liked how 5 looked, but I felt like 6 was more what needed to be on there because 5 probably wasn't quite enough. So what I did then, this is 20 centimetres from top to bottom. So I just divided that by 6, which gave me 3.33. So all I've done is mark them down at about every 3.3 centimetres. I've put a mark, and that's where each eyelet's going to go. So from there, I actually have this little manual kit, which came with a little hole punch like that. So I'm going to use that to punch some holes in there. And so the first hole, I'll see if I can get the angle right for you. I don't know if you can see, but I've got a mark here and that's crossed through the centre there. So I want the hole right there in the middle. So what I do is I use the punch along with this base plate, which came with it. I've actually been using this size. I mean, it doesn't matter too much. You just don't want it to sort of move around too much. So what I'll do is I'll lay the fabric on the base plate and find about the middle point here. And I'm happy to take my time trying to find the middle point because I would like it to be as accurate as possible. That looks to be about the centre there. Now I'm going to try to hammer this down to get the hole. Hopefully it won't knock the camera down. Okay, and that should leave a hole, and it hasn't quite, probably because I'm on my craft mat. So I'll hammer it a bit more. I'm sorry, it is noisy. Oh damn, what have I done there? No, that's fine. Okay, so a little bit's come out, but I haven't got the whole thing out. So I have also done that a little bit off centre, unfortunately, but anyway. Okay, so I'll try again. Yeah, I was actually just doing it on the carpet before, but I don't know if you can see, but it's just put in a little hole there. What I can do when there's enough of a hole is actually just push that through like that. And there's just a small hole, and that'll help me work out where... I'm not even showing you, sorry. Okay, so I push the punch through that just to make the hole a little bit larger, and then so I'm left with a hole like that. Now, I do have an eyelet punch, which makes it a lot easier. Now, I'm just going to move the camera a little bit so you can see it. And I do apologise for my dirty rug. I've got a bit of fabric and that on there from doing this. Move that up a little bit more. So that's what I've got, a punch like that. Okay, so what you do with one of these does make it a lot easier. You get your eyelet. There we go. Okay, so see the thick side there on the back? Okay, you put that piece on the bottom like that, and that's actually the top side of the eyelet. So you want whatever you're punching to be facing downwards. You push the hole over there like that, and then you get your back piece of the eyelet, which is a flatter looking piece, and I'll show you that. So that's what that looks like. It's just nice and flat. Now you need to also find the right side. There is a right side and a wrong side. The one side dips in a little bit, if you can see that, and the other side actually sort of it kind of concaves outwards. I prefer that to be on the outside. I mean, I have seen them done with that on the outside, and if you prefer that, that's fine. But for clothing and things like that, I feel like you could easily scratch your skin and that if that's on the outside, because it is pointing, so I prefer that way. So that's how I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to pop it here on top now. If you can see what I'm doing there, hopefully you can. So it's come off, so let's try again. There we go. Okay, so now that's ready to go. There we go. So all I do now is I grab the handle on my punch and I just push it down, and you usually hear a little noise, and that's punched that in now. So that's how it looks. Now there is still, you can probably see a tiny bit of fabric in the hole. I just push it like that and it just pushes it straight out. The hole punch actually cuts that off, which is great. Now it's not a bad idea either. Being this is a bag, I didn't worry too much about it, but if you were doing clothing or something like that, particularly with this type of fabric, one thing you may want to do is just apply a little bit of glue before you pop the eyelet in. I mean, you could probably put a tiny bit around the outside of the eyelet. Just make sure, don't use too much. You don't want it oozing out, because if it oozes out, you're just going to see it all over the fabric. But it's not a bad idea to put a tiny little bit just to stop it from fraying. Okay, so yeah, that's how you do the eyelets. Now I've got 5 more to go here. And then once they're done, I'm going to come back and then I will do the eyelets on the bag. Now, with these pieces, I did actually, this one on this side, I actually had it sewn the other way. I don't know if you remember from the other footage. I had this serger line on the outside here, and I realised that it would look a lot better to do it this way, so I did unpick it. It was a pain, but I did it because that allows it to sit in like that. The other way I had to put stitching in to conceal it, whereas this way I don't have to, because when the pocket sits on like that, you're not going to see the stitching or the seam line underneath. So I just thought that would give a much neater and nicer looking finish. So I decided, yes, it was definitely worth taking the time to unpick it or seam rip it and redo it. So both sides are now stitched like that. Okay. So I'm going to go through now, as I said, finish my eyelets up on this side of the pocket. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll mark these up the same way that I did these side pieces. I'll mark the centre line. Well, when I say centre line, well, it doesn't matter as much on these, I suppose, but this is going to be the most obvious spot. It's just sometimes they come out a little bit uneven, but I think these are pretty even. But I'll measure the centre from the outside to the inside. And then from that point, I'll measure out 5mm to allow for half of the eyelet. And then I'll just put that line along there just to know where the edge of the eyelet should be. And I'll do the same thing. These are 20 centimetres long. I measured them. They are quite accurate, which is good. So I'll just measure again at 3.3, and I'll do that all the way down for 6 of them. And then I'll punch these out as well. And once I've got that all done, I will come back and I will show you what we're going to do from there, because after that point we are going to lace the ribbon through and see how that looks, and decide if we need some Velcro or something at the back of the pocket just to hold it nice and firm against here. And I will also, sorry, should have mentioned this before, I will stitch that down as well, because I don't want to have to undo everything again to do this stitching. So I will get that done, and then we'll do that. And I would actually like to make a flap for this pocket, I think, just so things don't fall out of it. You don't have to do that. You could just do some studs or something up the top. But because I'm using it for accessories, for sewing and things like that, if I don't put a flap over top, I'm just limiting my use for it. I won't be able to put smaller things because there's the risk of them falling out. So I think in my case it's a good idea to actually make a flap, but I need to plan how to do that. But anyway, that's getting ahead of myself at the moment. Let's just do this for now, and yeah, I'll come back and show you where I'm at once I've done all the eyelets. Okay, so I've finished up all the eyelets, and I did put ribbon on one side, and it looks like that, which I'm really happy with. And that looks very cute. So the whole thing. So now I'm going to do the opposite side. So with the ribbon, what I didn't want to cut it till I knew what length I needed. So because it was still on, because I've got a whole spool of ribbon, because it was still on the spool and I didn't want to cut it and mess up the length, because you wouldn't want to cut it, it'd be too short. All I did was I just, I'm going to turn the camera down and show you how I did that. Alright, so to save messing that up, all I did is I just got that side of the ribbon and I just threaded it through here. And then I went through the opposite side here, and then came back up through this hole, and then back through the second hole here. So I'm basically lacing it up just like you will when you're done, when you've decided what size ribbon you need. But all this does, this just allows you to actually get an idea on how much you need. So you can just do that all the way through, right up until you reach the top. And then all you do is decide how long you want this end to be, because you do want to tie it into a bow. And I mean, mine's quite a large bow. You can do it smaller than that if you want. Depends on your preference. And when you've got the length that you need, you can keep pulling this through till it's long enough. So say you wanted that much at the end. All you do then is grab this other end and just put them together and work out where that finishing point is, and then just trim that, and then you'll have enough ribbon to do the whole lot. So that's how I did mine. And then of course I used the measurement. I measured how long this was, which mine was 119 centimeters, and then I just cut this one at 119 centimeters. Now the other thing that I did as well, I used my little electric lighter to melt the ends. I haven't done this one yet, so I'll do that too. And I did also trim them at an angle. Again, that's totally up to you. If you don't like them, if you prefer a straighter edge, that's fine. I like them with an angle on them, so that's how I did it. Yeah, so I just used my little electric lighter and I just melt it, and I can see that, yeah, well, I've just burnt that a little bit, but that actually melts quite easily. You don't need to get that close to it. I've lost a bit of my sharper edge now, so I'm just going to fix up the shape a little bit. And wait till it's cool, and then you can actually feel the seal. And you can also see it on this one actually. That'll just stop your ribbon from fraying. And I'll do the other side now while I'm at it so that I don't forget about it. But yeah, no, it's surprisingly hot, like, so yeah, you don't need to actually touch it. The only time that I am actually touching is if I'm trying to melt it back down to reshape it. But anyway, so they're both sealed now. So I'll pop that away. Okay, so now we're ready to thread it. And I'm going to turn it towards you, make it easier to see. So get your ribbon, bring the ends together, make sure they're relatively even. Find your center point, hold it at the center point. So I like to start looping through from the back side. So we'll do this one here. Now it is a bit tricky while you're holding the center point, but you can recenter it once you've looped it through both sides, to be honest. So, and I probably will do that again just so I don't have to keep holding it. So back through the back of this side. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm just going to, so I'm pulling the ends of the ribbon up and then just finding where the middle is. So join those ends up and then pull it nice and firm. Okay, and you can either go under the eyelet or over. I'm going to go under because I did that on the other side. You could also do this the way that they do it with corsets as well, which if you're familiar with that, they leave ribbon down the bottom to tie up, but that's mainly just so that you can get a better fitting. But if you like that look and like it tied up in the middle, then yeah, you can do that too, and you just have a bow in the center. There's a lot of videos on how to do that, so if you're interested, you can look that up. But I think for now I'm happy with my little bow at the top. Okay. Just keep going under till we get all the way up to the top. It is also easier to do this, of course, if you finish the ends off first. If you try to do it and you haven't actually finished them off with a lighter or anything, they start fraying a lot easier. Okay, so now that I've got that all done, I can just do up my little bow. I'll do my best. I'm not the best at doing up bows, so I'm going to try. Like, I can do them, but they don't turn out very neat. This is what I'm trying to say. Because I also like to double bow. This is what I have trouble with, is getting them both down the bottom. See how that sits funny? So then I have to turn it up and that one's not right. But what I did with the other one, I actually got that and I looped it underneath here. And that seemed to make it sit a little bit better. If you can see what I'm doing, just loop it under the back. Pull that through. There we go. So that's the eyelets and the ribbon all done. And I think it looks really cute. So this whole pocket's finished. And like I said before, I may do a little flap to go over the top of the pocket, but I don't have to do that. So that's one side. Now the next part of this project, I mean there's a few things I still want to do with it. I want to put some studs on here. I do also want to put some form of jewellery, if you will, on the cat. I thought it might be cute if I put little rivets or something on the cat's forehead. Something like, I'll try to show you, it's hard with nails, but something like that I thought would be cute on the cat. Just gives it that little bit more fancy detail. So I may do that as well. I think 3 is enough. I'll try 5 or something, but I think it's probably just going to make it look like it's too much, but we'll give it a go. We'll have a look and see how it looks. But yeah, like with this whole project, as I said before, I just wing it. I just don't really think too much about what I'm going to do. I get ideas as I go and I run with it. I mean, I had no intention of putting the eyelets on here, and I'm glad they're on here because they look really nice, especially with the black and the pink. Just looks really good. It's still cute. I think 3 is better. Okay. So I still need to do those, and then I also want to do some pockets on the other side because I haven't used my cross yet. It's sitting here somewhere. Here it is. Okay, so that's a project I still need to do as well. Just put the cross on there. And that, I mean, that should be easier than this side. This was quite the project, honestly. Doing a cat, hand embroidery, and then eyelets and things as well. It was quite challenging. But for the other side, I mean, you can also put pockets inside the bag. I actually may make a couple of little bags with a zip on them, and then that way if I've got really small things I can put them in there and they're not going to get lost. Things like your little unpicks for your sewing and stuff like that. Or even, I usually like to keep my jump rings in bags, but it's a good idea to keep them in another smaller bag that's contained with a zip or something, so that if they do fall out you don't lose them. So I do have a lot of small bits and pieces. I have this kind of stuff as well. Yeah, it's just like a little thumbing type of thing with studs on it. But yeah, I have a lot of that kind of stuff, and yeah, I just want them all in one spot. I would actually quite like to put studs like all across here, would be really cool. But I don't think I've actually got enough to put a lot on there, so I'm probably going to have to be selective and choose a nice pattern. But again, I'll do that afterwards and see how everything looks. But I know I definitely want this in here, on here, because I do love how the cross looks. It's really nice. And I mean, I could actually leave that dangling, but I'm not going to. I'm going to sew the top and the bottom down. And the reason I'm going to do that is I don't want it to get stuck on anything. If I have my bag in storage or something like that, I don't want it catching on things and pulling off. So I think it's better for me if I don't have it dangling. But if you're using a bag and you're doing a similar style and you're not going to be putting it in storage or whatever, and you would like it to be dangling, then yeah, you can do that too. It does look really nice as well. I think on this side I'll do a black pocket, because the black looks really nice as a backdrop to the cross. So I now need to plan that as well. I don't know whether I'll do the pockets down the bottom or another one up high, or even one up high and some down the bottom. I could do a few. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. So that's my next project, is mapping out this side and working out exactly how I want to do that. And I do also want some studs here. and I want the same thing on the other side as well, so I just need to work out which studs look best. And when I do these things, I just, if I want studs, like I'll just get whatever I've got and I'll just put them on there and I'll compare them. Or sometimes I take photos, because sometimes I'm not certain what I want to do. So it's a good idea to just place them on there. And yeah, like I said, you can then take a picture and you can compare it and see what looks the best. I mean, like, these are just little rivets and they do look quite nice down the bottom like that. But I also have these little, they're not little, they're quite large. I also have these squares, which you could also put in a diamond shape as well, and they're quite nice too. But I feel like they might be a little bit too big just because they are larger size. Okay, I'll show you on this side because they're not working on that side. The struggle's real, guys. Okay. I mean, sometimes oh, here we go, awesome pliers. Sometimes I use pliers to do this because it's just too hard with my nails. Because you place things and then you just knock them over with your nails. So like something like this would be cute as well. So I do like that too. Again, it depends on what the look you're going for really. And then you could do it like that and put some of these up here in the diamond pattern like that. Looks really nice as well. But before I do it, like I said, I'll put a few different studs and things on here and see what I think. And I'll take some pictures and compare and then make a decision about how I want to do it. I mean, it would also be nice to have these on here with the little rivets down the bottom too. That also looks nice. And I do have some other studs as well. I do have a few different styles. I just don't have a lot of each one. That was helpful, wasn't it? Let's try that again. Still struggling, guys. Okay. So yeah, that looks nice as well. Alright, so I'm going to go and plan out what else I want to do with this. And then I will come back and show you more of the project. Hey guys, okay. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on my project. I'm now doing the other side of the bag, and I have velvet from a upholstery thing that I was doing, so it's a bit of leftover fabric. So I decided to use that because I think it's really pretty, and I like how it looks with the cross. Looks really nice. So all I did, I just made the basic size that I wanted. This is going to be a basic pocket, which I'll just sew flat down instead of having higher sides and stuff, because it's a bit easier. And also, if you want to store things that are, say, on like some sort of cardstock or whatever, they just slide in. So that's an easy way to do that. So I made my own bias tape or bias binding with the satin that I've got on the other side, because I do have a little bias maker. Now, I only made a small amount, so there wasn't really much point in me showing you how I did that. There's actually also a lot of tutorials on YouTube on how to do that. So if you wanted to make your own to match it, then yeah, just look on YouTube. But now, before I sew the pocket on, the best thing for me to do is sew the cross on, because it's going to be a lot I'm only going to hand stitch it, but it's a lot easier to put it on now and then stitch the pocket on. If I stitch the pocket on, I'm just going to have to get inside the pocket, and then it's just a little bit fiddly. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to hand stitch the cross on. I'm going to sew the pocket on. I'll probably come back then and show you how that's looking, and then we might have a look at some of the rivets and the studs and things like that to put on there. So we'll work that into the design as well. So yeah, I'll be back when I've got those things done. Okay guys, so I'm back. I've sewn the pocket on that like I said I was going to do, and sewn the cross on, which I did by hand. And I did sew it at all 4 points just to keep it steadier. I could have just done it at the top, and I could have just done it at the top and bottom, but I didn't want any bits sitting out to get caught on anything. So I thought I'd do the whole 4 just to make sure it's really secure. And after sewing the pocket, I didn't want black stitching through my section of binding that I made. So all I did after I stitched the pocket on, I just did a little bit of hand stitching on the inside up the top there just to stitch those down. And it's sitting quite nicely, so that's good. And this fabric as well, the velvet, even though it's a upholstery fabric, it does have a little bit of stretch in it, which is nice, because I knew I was going to do a flat pocket. For a flat pocket, it's probably nice to have a little bit of stretch. I can get my hand in there easily anyway because the fabric underneath. But a little bit of stretch isn't a bad idea, just to give you some extra space. And because of the way you make the bias binding, which is on the weft of the fabric, which is the stretchy side, for non-stretch fabrics, you don't need to do the weft of the fabric. You can just go along the grain line for stretchy fabrics for binding, but again, you can see that in another video. But yeah, because that was along there, that has a little bit of stretch as well, which is nice. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that looks now. And it's sort of a very different look. I mean, you know, you have the cross and that on the one side, to then turn around and have like the, underneath the straps, to then have the big huge cat pocket on the other side. So it's really cute, and like honestly I could probably use this as a handbag if I wasn't using it for my sewing things. I may even make another one to put my sewing stuff in and use this as a handbag sometimes. But yeah, like as I said, it does look really cute, so I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing that we need to do now is make it look a bit more goth style now, because I do quite like goth style things with my rivets and my studs and things like that. So in order to do that, I'll probably just place things down and that and take pictures and see what looks the nicest to me. Kind of hard to do that now actually, because these are all on a bit of an angle because of the big pocket underneath and stuff like that, but you know, I guess we can kind of work with it. But yeah, I can do like, because there are 2 different sides to the bag, I can do a completely different style on one side compared to the other, which is nice as well, because you can just swap sides depending on what kind of mood you're in. Which is nice to have that kind of versatility actually with a bag. So, you know, like, I mean, even that, like the little rivets just along the strap there look quite nice. And I'll probably, I mean, as I said, I do love the cross, but I feel like the other side with the cat probably needs a little bit more, I don't know if bling would be the correct word, but maybe a bit more detail with the studs and things like that. I feel like on this side, if I do too much of that kind of stuff on this side, it's probably just going to take away from the cross a little bit, whereas the cat's kind of, I mean, very obvious, quite large and really stands out. So on this side I can probably get away with a few more decorations. But again, I'll work all of that out, and I'll also see if I can get, I'll see how many rivets I can get along the side of the bag, because that'll look really awesome if I can get quite a few on there. And I'll get that all laid out and I'll work out what I want to do. And when I've got a plan of that in place, I'll come back to you guys and I will show you how I put the rivets on and how I put the studs on. So yeah, I'll come back to you when I've got it all planned out. Hey guys, okay, so I've done a little bit of planning on my bag. It's only a small amount, but I wanted to show you because it looks freaking amazing. I've just decided to put rivets on the bottom of the pocket that has the cross on it, and yeah, like I said, it looks really, really good. So Sorry, I was fixing one up because it moved and I want to show you how it looks while they're on here. Okay, so I'm just going to tilt the camera down and show you how it looks. Let's pop that down now. So yeah, just like I said, it looks freaking awesome. I'm not sure if it translates quite as well on camera, because the velvet also makes it look really good. It's just a really awesome match. Okay, so for the placement of the rivets, I'm going to place the two outside ones first. I'm going to put them where I think they look the best. And then once I've done that, I will then measure out the space that's left just to work out how far apart I need the inside rivets. Now, it's the same process initially as your eyelets, in that you need to punch a hole into the fabric. But just note that the hole does not need to be as big as it does for your eyelets. The rivets only have a I'll show you the opposite side. The hole only needs to be big enough for this section here in the middle to fit through. So just bear that in mind. Don't make your hole too big. If you do, it's just going to pull straight back through. And you don't want that to happen, you know, after you're doing all of that hard work. So that's one thing to consider. And also, I will show you how I do some of these rivets, because my machine that I don't have a die that's for the rivets. I'll put it back up so I'm talking to you. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, the machine that I have, I don't have the die for the actual rivets. I've only got a die for eyelets. So I do need to do it manually. So I do have this little manual kit which has all these pieces. I'm going to use the metal base plate that I use for punching the holes. I do also have a smaller round one in there, so if that's what you have, that's perfectly fine. But I prefer the bigger one. If I've got both, I'll use the larger one. And the other thing I need to do, of course, is in this kit I need to find out which one actually fits the rivet so that I can put it on. But like I said, I will show you how I put some of them on. Probably won't show you the process of punching the holes because we went through that already with the eyelets. And again, as I said, it is the same process, it's just a smaller hole. Now, if you do these on a fabric that frays easily, my suggestion would be that you actually put a bit of glue around the hole before you put the rivet in. That should prevent it from fraying, and make sure you don't put too much. You don't want the glue to ooze out, that would ruin the look of your fabric. And the other thing too, if it's a fabric that frays a lot easier, they're also more inclined to pop out. So the glue's not only going to stop the fraying, but it'll also support the rivet a little bit more. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. But mine's quite a sturdy fabric. It is a velvet. It's a pretty thick velvet, and it is 2 layers as well, just because I have a seam there as well. So that's not really necessary for me. Okay, so I'm going to go and get this done, and when I come back to you, I'm going to actually show you how I put in some of the rivets. So that's what we're up to next. Okay guys, so I'll just show you where I'm about to put the last rivet in. So I've pushed it through from the back into the hole that I've made. So I'll push through the piece like this, which has the longer pin on it. I want that on the underside. And then I've got this little bit here to go on top. See if I can get it on. It's a bit fiddly with nails. Oh, first go. Awesome. Okay, so now that I've clipped those together, what I want to do, I want the good side facing down. I want this facing down into my plate, because then that way it won't damage that side. And you put it in the one where the size matches the best, which is that one. And you should have a piece, I mean mine's probably a tiny bit small, but a bit like that, that curves inwards. That's for your rivets. I could actually do with a larger one, but anyway, I might do with what I've got. So you put that on this side here, which again is the wrong side, the side you won't see. And you're just going to whack that on just a few times. Yeah, so this is what keeps happening to me. I keep getting the funny marks on the bottom just because this is a little bit small. It should have a wider hole in it. But anyway, it still works, it's still effective. But yeah, if you see that it's not nice and smooth anymore. The first one I did turned out really well, and it's nice and smooth, but pretty much every other single one has a little mark on it there somewhere. But anyway, so just check your rivet, make sure it's in nice and firm. I mean, they all feel pretty firm, which is great. And so that's how they look now. So I've got those all put in. So that's looking pretty good. So my next step now is planning my, some of my, well, I don't know if I'll do more rivets or whether I'll do some studs and spikes and things. But I'll go through and plan those out now and show you how they come along as well. Okay guys, so I've come up with a design that I'm happy with on this side, and I don't know if you can see it that well, so I'm just going to lift the camera up to give you a better view. So I've got some square studs at the top on both sides and down on the bottom of the straps as well, and I've gone for a rivet look down here. These ones are actually studs though, because they have the little prongs on the back, so they're going to be a lot easier for me to put on. And yes, I do realise that that's similar to what I did on the other side with the rivets, but it looks really nice and goes really well then with these different studs on the handles. So they're all claw style, which is great. So really I'm just going to eyeball it for the most part and probably won't do any measurements. I was going to do a crescent moon under the cat, which is what that marking is there, and put studs and just some sew-on studs and these square ones in that, and it looked really good. But it also looked like it was competing with the cat. I thought it looked too much. So I've changed and I'm going to do this now. So yeah, I'll go through that process now. Let's put some of these other studs away just to get them out of the road. Okay, so I might start with the top ones. So I decided to put them, just make sure you can see, right up the top here, because I do have that little bit that's lifting on the strap, which I do mention in my last video. So I'm just going to put it above that stitching. I do also want to, I want it to look pretty even on both sides, but okay, so when I decide where I've got, I just push it in. Now I do have some pliers here, some long nose pliers which I'll use here. Just push the fabric through in the middle, and then I'm just going to bend each prong over like that. And then just make sure that they're tucked in quite well so that they don't catch on things. It's still sticking up a little bit, so we'll push on that again. Okay, that's better. Alright. Just pulled that down a little bit, I've noticed, but we can't really help that. Alright, so I now need to see how much room I've got for the last two based on that one, and what's going to look the best in relation to spacing. So I don't want to put the middle one on and find I don't have enough room to fit the end one. Okay, that looks pretty good. Oops. Alright, let's try that again. It's going to be a little bit fiddly, I can see. Okay, that looks like a pretty good spot, so I'll push down on that now. Just hold the stud on the back, well I should say the front, while you turn the fabric to the back. And then again, just bend those down. Okay, that was much harder than it should have been. Alright, and then we'll place the last one on this side. Again, I'll just have a look and see what I'm happy with. Okay. Let's move these ones out of the way now. Okay, so that's the first bit done, which looks nice. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is that it's put a few holes in the handle here, but it's not that noticeable. Hopefully it won't fray up or anything like that. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing here and down the bottom of each handle as well. And then next up we'll do the little rivet style studs. Okay guys, well I've done some more studs here as you can see, all in a diamond sort of pattern, which I thought looked cute. The bottom section of the bag, I think I would like to put a pocket down here at some point, or at least have the option to put a pocket there. So I didn't want to stud it up too much. I mean, I've got these ones here, but they're claw ones. I can actually quite easily take them out, and they don't seem to damage this black fabric putting them in. So that's the reason I have still put some there, just so it doesn't look too plain, because I felt like it looked too plain otherwise. Like, that looks quite nice. I'm happy with that. Then I'm pretty much done with this side. I haven't made like a little flap for this pocket, but I think I'm going to leave it for now. I may add it in the future, and if I do add one in the future, then I may even do a video showing any additions that I make. So if I make a flap here, if I put pockets here or whatever, I'll just do another video on that. But it might not be for a little while, because I've got a lot of other projects that I really need to get done, so I do really need to get this finished. But anyway, so for now I think that looks cute. The only thing I've got to do now is either sew this pocket here or Velcro it. I'll probably just sew it just to get it done and finished. Then on this side, so I haven't really done a lot with this side. I mean, I really do like the cross. I think it looks really pretty. And I don't really want to, I don't want anything too noisy, for lack of better words, because I don't want anything to take away from the cross, if you will. I do have a chain here somewhere, which I'm trying to find. I was sure it was here on the table. I can't see it there, but because I thought that might look, oh, there it is. Okay. I thought this might look nice as well, just to add a chain there or something. But I suppose if I did that, it'd probably look better if I joined it up to the cross. I don't know what I think about that, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that. Might actually look better on the edge or something. But then it'd be nice to have one on if I'm going to add that. Yeah, I do like that on the edge. If I was going to add that though, I kind of need it on both sides, just to balance it out. So I might see if I've got some more chain somewhere. I think I do. It might be smaller than this though. But yeah, if I'm going to use that, like I said, I think the best place is the sides. So I may add that too. I mean, this kind of thing looks nice as well. I mean, this is a choker that I made. So obviously I'm not going to pull that apart or anything like that because I like how it looks on, but it would also look nice on the side of the bag as well. Like, that looks really good, that looks really cool. So you could stitch one of these on there and maybe even have, say, 2 of them at the top and on both sides for a bit of symmetry, because yeah, that's a really nice look as well. So that's another option. I would like to do more on the bag and do more decorating and things like that. But the other issue that I have as well is just, I do have quite a few studs, but I've got a lot of other projects I need to do. So I don't want to use all of my studs up right now, because that would be a bit frustrating if I just used all my studs on the one project when I need them for other things as well. It would be nice to do something else on this side. Not really sure what I should do at this point in time, but I do feel like it does need something else. I mean, if this was a little bag on its own, that would just be like so awesome. But of course it's not. We've got all these surrounding areas too. And yeah, I sort of don't want it to look too plain. I also want it to look, I mean, obviously it is quite different to the other side already, being that there's a cross and velvet. So I kind of want to keep it looking quite a bit different to the other side if I can. I mean, obviously they don't need to be completely different. I mean, I can add elements that I have on the other side, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's nice to have a different look on each side. I do quite like that they look very different from one side to the other. And so I don't really want to change that. Maybe even something like the studs along the top as well might look good. Obviously they'd want to line up with the bottom ones then, just to look a little bit more symmetrical. I do feel like I need to put something on here, just because they sit up here. I didn't sew right down at the edge. And also, these still have that little gap at the top, which I talked about in my previous video. And I said I wasn't worried about it because I'm going to decorate it. Well, the idea was I was going to put some sort of studs on there. So I feel like I do need to put something on here. And on the bottom ones as well. Anyway, I do have these ones on the other side. So I might try for something different on this side. Excuse me. Again, those studs are a different colour, so If I'm not going to use the square ones, I'm going to need to use the screw-on ones. I will check though, because they are smaller than the ones I'm going to sew on. So I do want to make sure that they look right with those ones. I don't want to put them on and go to all that effort and put holes in that in here and find that they just don't look right. They look weird or something. Another thing that would look really cool if you have it, I mean I don't have any spare, but if you had some sort of netting fabric or something like that, that would look really great on this project as well. You could always cover some of the pink areas with some lace. That's also a really nice look. But again, depends on what you're going for, because I feel like lace over a different colour in a goth style is a bit more dressy, if you will. Maybe more of a formal goth style. Whereas the cat that I've got on the other side is a bit more casual. But again, it's complete personal preference. There's no right or wrong. And there's no... I mean... Goth is goth, really. You can go completely overboard and do everything over the top, which is quite nice, or you can be a bit more simplistic. But yeah, it's completely up to you to do whatever you think looks nice. I do like those studs up there. I think they look really good. I probably would have put them along here if I didn't have this already sewn out, but I do, so we're going to move on from that. I'm not going to dwell on that. I mean, the thing with that as well, like, yeah, I'm going to have to put holes in here as well, but it's thinner fabric. The velvet is quite thick, and I did have a lot of struggles getting the holes in the bottom section. That was quite difficult. So it's not something that I really want to be doing again, or anytime soon anyway, because it was just, it really was a lot of work. It took a lot of time. So I may even put, because I do like that, I think that looks nice. I'll measure them out, make sure they're all even and evenly spaced and in the correct positioning. Oh my goodness, story of my life. Okay, but I think it'll look nice if I have them on top and the bottom. I think that'll match really well. And I'll do the same thing. I'll have 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom, and obviously I'll try to get them as level as possible. Okay, it's not going to work for me, and I'm not going to fight it. So yeah, like I said, I'll measure these up and place them all on. Hey guys. Alright, just back with the progress on my bag. I'm finished now, so I'll just show you what it looks like now. I've got all the nice studs and that on that side with the cat. And I've just got a press stud in the middle of the pocket just to keep it closed, which I sewed on. It's a black one. And then on the other side, got quite a few more studs on there. So we've got the ones along the top, and then I just put these ones here through the little straps, which is quite cute. So yeah, that's how it looks in the end, which is nice. I think it's come out really well. And we actually did a photo shoot with the bag today, so you'll see some of those pictures as well. So yeah, okay, so if you like this video, like and subscribe. And I'm going to bring another project to you, which is probably going to be making a nice dress. So that'll be the next video. So I'll see you in that one. Bye.